Yeah.
A little quick. I'd just like to hear it.
Cool.
So what is your argument for being a vegan?
Sure. So I'm going to start by defining veganism, and I just wanted you to tell me what you disagree with. Okay. All right. So veganism is an ideology that rejects the commodification of animals. So that means we don't want to use them, abuse them, or kill them for food, clothing, entertainment, or anything else. So what about that do you disagree with?
How does that differ from plants?
How do animals differ from plants?
Yes.
Okay, so good question. I want to introduce you to a term called sentience. So sentience is the ability to feel pain, feel joy, experience life, right? So cows, chickens, and pigs, the animals that we eat most, are sentient. Elephants, most mammals, birds, most of the animal kingdom are sentient, minus some marine life, minus some insects and stuff like that. Plants are not sentient. We know that for two reasons. Number one, scientific studies. We have scientific consensus. Number two, organs. So if you look at the organs of a plant, they don't have any. If you look at the organs of a cow, chicken, pig, they have lungs, they have brains, they have nerves. Everything that we also have that give us our senses, right? And our ability to be conscious. So does that answer your question?
Not necessarily. Have you understood the communications by root of plants?
Sure. So I'll explain another thing. So there's a difference between intelligence and sentience. So you could have something very intelligent and sentient. You could have something very unintelligent and sentient. So just because...
Sorry. One more time. Define sentient.
Sentience is the ability to feel pain, feel joy, to have an experience, right? So somebody very mentally challenged, they might have disorders in their brain, they might have lower intelligence, but that doesn't mean they aren't experiencing the world. That doesn't mean we should be able to do whatever we want to them, right? Yeah. Same thing with animals. Their intelligence might be lower than ours, their physical abilities might be different than ours, but that doesn't mean we can just do whatever we want to them, right? They deserve moral consideration. Plants, same thing with like fungi, which are technically animals, same thing with microbacteria, microorganisms, single-celled organisms. All of them, they have intelligent communications. If you look at bacteria, we all know bacteria, we all know diseases. It's an incredibly intelligent thing. That doesn't mean that there's actually an individual and they're actually experiencing anything, right? Does that clear that up a little bit?
Somewhat. In the aspect as far as the plants go, but how do you feel about monocrop agriculture?
What about monocrop agriculture?
The devastation that it does to the planet itself.
Sure. So if we wanted to talk about the environment, right, do you know how much of rainforest deforestation is caused by animal agriculture?
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
I can tell you. So over 90% of rainforest deforestation is due to animal agriculture, so it's clearing the land specifically for animal agriculture. When we're talking about monocropping, one of the biggest ones are soy and wheat, right? Those are, and corn, actually, three of them. Yeah. The majority of those, because if you think about it, we breed 80 billion animals into existence. That's 10 times the population there is on the earth. Yeah. And that's just land animals. We have to feed them for a year and a half to 2 years before we slaughter them. What are they eating? They're eating soy, they're eating corn, they're eating wheat, right? With factory farming. So over 70% of soy is grown monocrop specifically to feed to livestock, right? So even if we want to make the argument, even if you want to talk about monocropping, veganism is not advocating for a certain type of agricultural system. It's not advocating for monocropping or regenerative farming, or it's advocating for the moral consideration of other sentient animals besides humans, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
But again, like we could talk about practical, right? Practical is one thing, because here's the thing. I want to get us on the same moral page, and then if you have practical stuff, we could talk about that. But to answer the question, what do you disagree with that definition?
Disagree with that definition. I don't necessarily disagree with that definition. I've got a couple questions for you. Sure. How many calories do you eat a day? What do you mostly eat?
I eat anywhere between 2,500 to 2,800 usually calories. I mostly eat whole grains, fruits, beans like soybeans.
Yeah, you definitely get the calories.
Cereals, yeah, seeds.
Cereals.
Yeah.
Cereals. Okay.
Like cereal, like Quaker Life, Captain Crunch, vegan.
Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
Good for you?
The Captain Crunch is not good for you, but Quaker Life is pretty good, yeah. High in fiber, high in protein.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about bioengineered ingredients?
That's fine. Unless
fine.
there's any peer-reviewed studies that show they're harmful, I don't care.
Well, I know that Europe has 90% of bioengineered ingredients banned.
So just because a country bans it doesn't mean there's actually research showing like we allow animal agriculture. That doesn't mean it's moral or it's right, right? So like unless there is, and again, when we talk about bioengineered, that doesn't mean all bioengineered ingredients or food is good, right? Obviously we have to, you could have bioengineered foods that are harmful for humans and beneficial. For example, if you mean by bioengineered, you mean like we bioengineer bananas to be able to grow in certain climates when they normally wouldn't be. As long as there's no harmful side effects of that, that's actually beneficial for human survival. So I don't see a problem with that.
The biggest issue that I'm seeing currently is the plastics and harmful fertilizers that are entering our bodies.
But that has literally nothing to do with veganism. So that's more of like we should figure out a better way to farm. I agree with you. But again, back to the moral thing, because I know we're kind of avoiding it. With my definition, what do you disagree with when it comes to giving moral consideration to animals?
I don't disagree with your consideration to moral animals, but I do agree with the fact that survival of the fittest is a very common definition for what we do.
Sure. Well, so survival of the fittest actually is kind of an oversimplification, right? It's the ability to survive and pass on your genes. But just because we are the fittest or we are the apex predator, right? That's not really a justification for what we do to animals, right? Because animals are sentient, we are sentient, we're different species of animals. If there was somebody above us, let's say an alien species that came to the planet, and they wanted to do what we do to animals to us, right? We, I think, would all agree that that's immoral, would you not?
I would definitely agree, but are you saying that that's not something that could be happening?
It might be happening, but I don't care if it happens in the world. A lot of awful things happen in the world. Rape, child abuse, murder, a lot of awful things happen. My care
about those things?
No, I do.
Okay.
I'm saying it's not that they're happening, it's that if they're moral or immoral, what we should object to happening, right? Okay. So if an alien came down, we might not be able to do anything about it. But would I object to it? Would I consider that immoral based on the same reason as to what we do to animals? Yeah, absolutely. And I think you would too, right? You wouldn't want that to happen to you.
I would definitely object, yes.
Okay. So then why not extend that to other species of animals?
I'm really not with that conversation totally. I'm not totally into this, and I don't have the best responses for you.
Okay.
But it might be a clip for you. So your big consideration is moral consideration, how the
Correct.
animals feel. We're killing them. It definitely hurts, right? Definitely hurts. It's not good.
Not even
I consider that too.
Okay.
I definitely consider that all my life.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like something that relates to this is abortion. So if you were God right now of the United States of America, and you could make any law you wanted, what would be your law on abortion now?
Yeah, so I
Right
used
now.
to be...
One defined law, pretty quick, pretty fucking clear.
Sure, I could explain. So I'm assuming you're pro-life, right?
No.
Oh,
Not
okay.
totally.
So for me, it's about sentience, right? So I used to be, with my stance on abortion, I used to be kind of, who gives a fuck, right? But since extending with veganism to sentience, I am pro-abortion up until sentience. So whatever science says the sentience is, I think they say between 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So I am pro-abortion. Like, for example, do I think that if somebody who's 6 weeks pregnant, who's in a horrible financial situation, who would probably bring that child into the world, and they would both be worse off for it, right? Do I think that they should be made to carry that baby to term? No, I think that doesn't make any sense.
It's a great question, and I don't know where I stand. That's why I'm asking. We all need to talk about it and then figure out where we stand.
I think a huge issue is the fact that no one is talking about the hard to ask questions. Hence why I walked up to this man.
Well, what's funny is nobody seems to be answering the question, right? So back to the topic, right?
We're not here to insult you.
No. No insult, but I like, because I really want to drill this home, right? Because we could talk about abortion, we could talk about monocrop agriculture, we could talk about all these other issues that I don't have a sign about, right? But when we go back to the sign, right? To answer your question about every issue, moral consideration should stem from sentience, right? So whether we morally consider another living being depends on if they can suffer, if they can experience the world, if they can feel pain, right? It's about sentience. So my question is, right, if you don't disagree with my definition that animals shouldn't be used for food, clothing, entertainment, they shouldn't be killed, they shouldn't be abused, if you agree with that, that's precisely why you should be vegan, right? That's really it. And any other reason, like if you agree with that, you might like the taste of meat, You might feel like you need meat. You might have all these kind of more, kind of personal or like anecdotal arguments. But at the end of the day, that's why you should be vegan.
So my argument might be a little one-sided on my behalf.
Okay.
But how do you feel about the situations where, apex predators that are more physically capable than humans are attacking humans? So say like a grizzly bear.
Self-defense. Yeah, self-defense is fine.
But no. I'm not saying us killing a grizzly bear. I'm
okay.
saying a grizzly bear sees us, hasn't eaten, hasn't...
awful. No, I don't want grizzly bears to eat us. No.
You don't want that. So how does that differ from us eating them?
Okay, so I wouldn't want a grizzly bear to eat us. So why would we eat other animals?
But are they not going to eat us if we're in the wrong place at the wrong time?
What do you mean?
Say you are living in Alaska.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Say you're living in Alaska.
Okay.
Say you are on a homestead.
Uh-huh.
Grizzly bears are your biggest threat.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I would kill them in self-defense, absolutely.
Okay, and would you not eat them in the...
Well, that's a little different. Hold on. So if you're saying that if a grizzly bear tries to eat you, and you have to kill it for self-defense, and then after it's dead you want to eat it, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a totally different thing.
I'm well aware. So in the ideal of preserving resources and the things that you have to do, would you eat a grizzly bear in that instance?
Again, if I had to, like, for example, if I killed a grizzly bear in self-defense and that was the only food available to me and I was in a survival situation, yeah, I would say that's morally permissible because it was either that grizzly bear was going to kill me and attacking me. The difference is the intent to harm, right? It's not like I chose to kill it for no reason. It was intending to kill me, so I had to kill it. Yeah, that's fine. But what we do with factory farm animals, with the 80 billion animals that we bring into existence, is not self-defense.
No, I'm well aware.
Okay, so...
And me personally, I have the funding in order to spend money on the grass-fed, grass-finished only beef of America.
I would still argue that's immoral. I would still argue that grass-fed.
Really?
Yeah, and we could go into it. So, like we mentioned, what's the justification for not extending moral consideration to animals? Because just because they're grass-fed, they still have to go to slaughterhouse. They still have to have their life killed prematurely. Barely. They're still at a fifth of their life.
Yeah, it's a fifth of their life. Okay. But
would you want humans to be killed at the fifth of their lifespan?
No, not necessarily, but we were up until we became sophistically more advanced than we are now.
Right, but that's not what I asked. I said, would you want for humans to be killed at the fifth of their lifespan?
Not necessarily, no.
You wouldn't want... No, I think the answer is no. You wouldn't want them to be killed at the fifth of their lifespan. Okay. So then why would we extend that treatment to animals?
It sounds messed up, but in the betterment of the population of which we are.
So actually, there's a lot of peer-reviewed research that shows that if we actually reduced, if not eliminated, our animal product consumption, our health outcomes would actually improve. So all the best peer-reviewed research we have shows higher fruits and vegetables, higher intake of fruits and vegetables equals better health outcomes. Heart disease is our number one killer. High saturated fat, high cholesterol diet is the number one proponent of heart disease, or number one cause of heart disease. That's primarily found in animal products, such as red meat. So in this case, the cows that we produce and eat is not for the betterment of society, not to mention the environmental impacts, not to mention the antibiotic resistance, not to mention the waste, the carbon emissions. It's unbelievable, right? So it's actually not for the betterment of society. So again, in this case where it would actually clearly be better to not produce and kill those animals, why would we kill cows at the fifth of the lifespan when we wouldn't do that to other humans?
Well, we are severely overpopulated, which I would admit that you would probably agree with, right?
Humans?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Our food supply is based on...
So actually, like I mentioned, there's been environmental researchers done where if we all went plant-based, we'd have significantly more food. Because like I mentioned, the majority of the crops that we produce are fed to livestock to grow them, and then we eat the livestock. So the only reason why, and not to mention it takes way more water, way more land, way more, I would say time probably, to produce these animals that we eat, right? And it's everywhere, the statistic. That's why there's so much push for not eating meat by environmentalists. So the idea that what do you say, that because of we need food supply, we need a food supply, that we should be eating animal products. It's actually the complete opposite. We actually, because we need more food, we should actually eliminate animal products and strictly grow crops and eat those.
Now, I'm going to say that I do not disagree with you, and I'm taking a lot from you as far I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Sure, I'm into it.
So, the things that I've seen is, I mean, me personally, I'm a huge steak lover.
Okay.
Always have been. I don't know if that comes from moral reason, if that comes from anecdotal reason. Sure. Don't know. That's just how I've always been.
No, you like the taste of steak. I get it.
Yeah.
I like the taste of steak. It's not that I didn't like it. I ate animal products for 18 years of my life.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the biggest issue for me is I've looked into some, not a lot. Clearly, you probably have more research than I, considering you're wearing the sign.
That's right. I have peer review. I'll show you. I'll give you a card after, too.
Yeah. I've heard some very bland arguments that are half-assed and whatnot.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, it's time to go.
is it time
Ryan,
to
you're
go?
so drunk to be talking to a guy with
I'm
a
way too
camera.
hammered.
He's got a camera.
If you got to go, man, I appreciate the talk.
All right.
Here, I'll give you a card.
What did he say?
There's nutritional resources.
What did he
So check
say?
it out, man.
Me?
I actually respect the hustle, brother. Fist bump.
All right.